What's going on, y'all? My name is McGowan. I'm the defensive backs coach at Siena Heights University. Today I'm going to be talking about some press man technique, true cover zero technique with a little bit of sprinkle on cover one. Before we get into things, here's some contact info for me. Twitter's there, cell phone, email. Get in contact with me if you want to learn about anything else, clinic some more, any questions that you may have. You can reach me at those addresses there. I like to start with dog mentality. I teach this to my guys. Dog mentality to me is what you have to play defensive back, especially at the college level, and be successful at it. I always say that confidence and technique or performance and skill all go hand in hand. If you have no confidence, your skill set doesn't matter. Confidence is kind of the building block of the defensive back position. It's the only position on the field that you're going to get singled out every single play. You can make 100 plays, picks, PBUs, tackles. Nobody's going to remember that if you give up the game-winning touchdown at the end of the game. So having that dog mentality is winning all jump balls. There's no 50-50 balls. So that ball that's in the air on the fade ball, you got to come down with it. PBU, whatever the case may be, there's no 50-50 balls. It's having that mentality that when the ball's in the air, the receiver's not going to come down with it. You got to be physical. They try to pick on DBs. That's just what teams do. DBs are known to be soft, sensitive, not very physical. So to play for me, you got to be extremely physical. You have to join that run game as well as the pass game. And if you can't, you're not going to play for me. So you got to be physical. You're the best player on the field. You got to act like it. It's very simple. If you think that you're going to get beat on a play, you're going to get beat on a play. You got to go to the line talking. You got to go to the line knowing that you're the best player out there and knowing that anybody in front of you is going to get locked down. That's the kind of mentality that you have to have. You have to have a certain type of swagger to your game. You don't have to you don't got to be spatted up, wear the visors, do all that. You don't have to do that, but you have to have that certain type of swagger that people can't really put a key on what it is. It's just that it factor. You got to have that to play DB. All right, confidence is the big thing. Building confidence with your guys. It's not tearing them down at everything they did wrong. It's telling them what they did wrong, telling them what they need to do to get better, and telling them what that outcome is going to be if they do said thing that you told them. All right, so certain coaches, I know some people they're more friendly with their players. Some are very militant with it. Some are right in the middle. Whatever you do, it's not tearing that confidence from the kids, especially at the DB spot. If you take that confidence away from them, I don't care if they're a 5-star recruit. They're not going to play as well as you've seen in the past if you take that confidence from them. They have to have confidence. It's building that confidence, building that trust so that they will run through a wall for you. And it's easy for them on a Saturday, Friday, Sunday to go out there and ball out and do what they can do because they have that confidence. So it's building confidence. It's actually caring about your kids, not just caring about what they do on the field, caring about what they do off the field. Building that confidence. The big thing to take away from dog mentality is confidence. Confidence. Getting into some technique of it. Wide receiver stances. Learned this from watching Deion Sanders do some things and talk about some things with some kids. Wide feet, a wide foot base, whether that's vertically, horizontally, you're going to have to rush them. What I mean by rush them is get into their space before they can get those feet back to square. Any athletic move is a square foot move. So they got to get their feet right back underneath shoulder length, and then they're going to get moving. All right. So if you can rush them, get into their space before they can bring those feet back in, you can kind of get them off balance. And if you can get that 2-3 seconds at the line, you're going to win that rep. All right, crossed arms. Crossed arms is the receivers with the arms crossed on their knee. Looks cool for the pictures, all that stuff. But realistically, they got to come up and out with those arms before they make any type of move. So what do you got to do? We got to choke them. Choke them means we're going to squeeze down right on those elbows, right on the triceps. All right, pinch those arms in so they can't move those arms out and get moving. All right. Pivot foot, same thing as the crossed arms. You're going to choke them. A pivot foot is their front foot, back foot, whatever foot is cocked. All right, that used to be a very normal thing for receivers to do, is have that extremely cocked foot. They got to straighten that foot out to move. You can't really move off a cocked foot, so you got to straighten that foot out. All right. So what are we going to do? We're going to choke them. So it's a mixture of the wide foot crossed arm. You're going to choke them. You're going to rush them, get into their space so that they can't get that foot cocked back normal so that they can get moving. All right, so those are the stances when they come to the line. You got to look at them and say, he's wide foot, he's crossed arm, he's pivot. He may be all three of them. If he's all three of them, he's not going to get off the line regardless. But if he's all three of them, we got to get up into a space. Some man tech basics. Very basic stuff. This is, if there's an incoming freshman, you have an incoming freshman, this is some basic stuff to teach them. Some basic stuff that maybe they already know coming in. All right. We got to come to the line with a plan. Defense is ultimately reactive. You're reacting to what the offense is doing. You're trying to stop something that's already in motion. So defense is reactive. The more that we can make it proactive, the better that you're going to be, the better the defense is going to be. What does that mean to make it proactive? It means to come to the line with a plan. I'll kind of talk about that on the next slide. Is come to the line with a plan. Have a plan on what you are going to do if the offense does a certain thing. Okay? Press with your feet first, not your hands. This is the biggest thing. You can, scrap everything else from this slide. This is the biggest thing to take away from it, is to press with your feet, not your hands. If you are a press team, you are right in his face. You need to press with your feet first, not your hands. You are going to win with your feet. Okay, what does that mean? That means I'm not lunging. That means I'm not trying to jam him and catch him at the line. Because what is he going to do if I try to jam him at the line and I miss? He's gone and nobody's going to help me out. If this is a true cover zero, I have no help. So nobody's going to help me out. So you need to press with your feet first. We're going to kick slide laterally. We're going to kick slide on an angle. Whatever the case may be, depending on the release, you have to press with your feet first. So press with your feet first. You're going to win the rep with your feet first. I like to tell my guys, if you can win the first 2 to 3 yards, you're going to win the rep. So win the first 2 to 3 yards with your feet, and then we can put hands on them. Your first step should be your inside foot. This is on cover zero stuff. Cover zero, you have no help at all, so you are going to guard where? You're going to guard the inside because that's the easiest throw. An inside throw is the easiest throw. Took this stat from Antonio Cromartie, one of the best DBs to ever play the game. Anywhere from 85 to 92% of routes are in breaking routes, slants, digs, posts. All of that is in breaking routes. All right, so 85 to 92% of those routes are in breaking routes. Those are the easiest routes to complete because they're right there across the quarterback's face. The outside routes that you may think, your comebacks, your out routes, those are harder balls to complete. I would rather you cover the inside and compete on those outside routes. So your first step should be with your inside foot because you have inside leverage in cover zero. Hot feet or kick slide, maybe a mixture of both, however, whatever terminology you want to use. That is not bunny hopping. What I mean by bunny hopping is both feet off the ground, bouncing. All right, we don't want both feet off the ground because if you have to make a quick move, those feet have to come back down before you can make a move. Whereas if you're hot feet or you're kick sliding, you have one foot on the ground at all times to where if you have to make a move, a quick move, you're going to be able to plant that foot in the ground and move. Okay, so no bunny hopping, no hopping at all. We want hot feet or a kick slide. When I show you some film later on, I'll kind of point out what's going on in that film to kind of show you the hot feet and the kick slides that I'm talking about. All right, quick jab on movement. Quick jab on movement to the breastplate or the shoulder pad. We'll talk about the 2-1 to none hand techniques next slide, but this is a quick jab. It's not a get into them and hold them. If you get into them and hold them with two hands, your feet are going to stop naturally. So we want to jam them, get them off the line. All right, and then we get our hands back and we can run with them. All right, your eyes can stay on the hips. Hips, breastplate, either one is okay. I'm kind of starting to stray towards the eyes on the breastplate. The reason why I would say eyes on the breastplate realistically doesn't move. And if you're jamming into the breastplate, I would rather have you have your eyes on your target when you're jamming so that they don't have to go from the hips up to the breastplate, then I jab. Where if I'm just looking at the breastplate, I can go breastplate, jab them, and my eyes are still on them when I can run with them. All right, so eyes on the hips or the breastplate. I would probably prefer more of the breastplate, but you can stay eyes on the hips if that's natural for you and it's something that you've kind of been doing, okay? You want to match the receiver steps. Outside break, progression steps, inside break, T steps, okay? Outside breaks. That's your corner route, your out route, your comeback. That's your progression steps. That's multiple steps. Okay, that's patter, 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 multiple steps. Inside break, T-step. This is your dig. This is your curl. This is your slant. These are things that you got to plant that foot in the ground and go now because the ball's going to be out quick. You will only want to open when the receiver is even with your hips. This is being comfortable in your back pedal. The big thing that I see with DBs is they're not comfortable in the back pedal. Everything you do in life is forward. You're going to walk forward. You're going to talk when you're walking forward. You're going to pick something up walking forward, but you don't do things going backwards. As a DB, you are doing everything that everybody else is doing, but you are doing it backwards. People are not comfortable doing that, and rightfully so. So the big thing is making sure your guys are comfortable in a back pedal, comfortable in their stance going backwards. Okay? So this is the reason why I have guys that are playing off man that will open up when the guy is 4 or 5 yards away from them. If I open up with them 4 or 5 yards away from him, the likelihood that he's going to spin me and he's going to go somewhere else is very high. If I don't open up and I stay square on him until he's even with my hip or a foot in front of me, and then I open up, he's already dictated where he has to go because he hasn't pushed me off yet. Receivers typically want to get on your toes. They want to give you a four-way at the top of every single route. If you can stay square long enough to where he's got on your toes, he's giving you a four-way, you're still square, he's going to have to dictate and you can open up exactly on his route. So staying comfortable in your back pedal is very, very, very important in this. If you're doing bail tech I'm not really going to go into in this presentation, but if you're doing bail tech, you got to keep that lead shoulder down in order for you to break better on the routes. A guy who's really good at bail tech, Jalen Ramsey from the Rams. He's very, very good at bail tech. If you want to watch good bail tech, watch some film on Jalen Ramsey. I'm not really going to talk too much on bail tech on this specific presentation, but if you are doing bail tech, you want to keep that lead shoulder down. All right. 2-1 to none. This is my favorite concept as far as man tech. I think you can teach this concept of 2-1 to none and pretty much teach the entire concept of playing man at the corner position. Okay, so 2-1 to none. Very simple. This is how I would explain it realistically to somebody that's coming in fresh fall camp as a freshman. This would be something that I would kind of explain to them. I learned a lot of this stuff from Coach Trey Bell from Akron, kind of watching some teach tapes on him. He uses the same type of method. So these aren't all my ideas, but this is kind of my baby, what I've kind of put into my man tech very heavily. So you have 3 releases. Receivers have 3 releases. They have a tight, an open, and a wide. If you stand with your arms out to the side, you're going to make a T. Okay, within the framework of your body, within shoulder to shoulder, that is a tight release. So if the receiver comes directly towards you, tries to bull rush you right into your sternum, right into your frame, that is when you're going to get 2 hands on. Okay, if he does an open release is outside the framework of your body, so outside your shoulders, but within your T still, so within your fingertips. So from your shoulder to your fingertips, arm length away. That is when you're going to get 1 hand on. Opposite hand jam, 1 hand on. Okay, that's the open release. If they have a wide release or a speed release, that is when they get exact or so far outside of that T that you don't have a chance to touch him. That's when you have no hands. That's the none part of the 2-1 to none. All right, 2-1 to none is your hands. That is the 3 releases that receivers can have, regardless of if they slide a release, if they directly come at you. Those are the 3 releases that they're going to have. Tight, open, wide. Okay? Outside release route progression. So if he takes an outside release, regardless of those releases, okay, you're going to play the fade to the comeback. You want to stay on top of 8 and 9 and compete on the 7. Stay on top of 8 and 9 and compete on the 7. If you see any top DBs film in college or in the NFL, they're always winning on deep balls. You can always come back and compete on shallow routes, on shallow pass plays. If you get beat over top, there's nobody over top to help you. So you have to stay on top of the 8 and the 9, which are your post and your fade, all right? And you have to come back and compete on the 7. If I'm coming back to compete on the 7, I'm playing his outside upfield shoulder. That's where the ball is going to be. If it's a good quarterback and a good receiver, the ball is going to be to the outside. So I want to play through his upfield shoulder. What am I doing if I'm playing through his upfield shoulder? If I'm playing through his upfield shoulder and that ball comes short, I'm going to be right there to pick that off and go to the crib. All right? Upfield shoulder. If he throws it to the upfield shoulder, I'm playing through that, and he catches the ball somehow, I'm going to tackle him. I'm going to make that tackle. I'm going to hit him out of bounds, whatever the case may be. All right, so play through the upfield shoulder when you compete on that 7. So if he takes an outside release, regardless of if it's tight, open, or wide, I'm playing the fade to the comeback. I'm playing the fade to the comeback, meaning I'm staying over top of that fade, and then I'm going to come back and compete on that comeback route. All right? Inside release route progression. If he takes a tight, open, or wide release and he goes inside, I'm playing the post to the dig to the curl. If he runs a post, he has to get to a certain spot. Their strides are going to be longer. He's not going to have time to really dance around. He's not going to try to lean on you. He needs to get to that open spot in the middle of the field. That's what his post is for. So he's going to have longer strides. He's going to be sprinting a little bit harder. He may give you a 4-way or a 2-way at the top of the route, but his strides are going to be longer. The difference on the post to the dig. If he's running a dig, he's going to lean on you. Strides are going to be a little shorter. He's going to lean. He's trying to create that space. When he leans on you, you need to lean back onto him. What I mean by leaning back onto him is you need to lean enough that he feels it, but not too much that you're putting your entire weight on him. If that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. Do not put your entire weight on him, but he's going to lean on you to try to create that space for that dig because it's a tight window. If he runs a curl, you have to be an athlete. I have a clip on it in a couple slides that you're going to see. You have to be an athlete. He's going to break his feet down, all right? You just have to break your feet down as well, and you need to T-step, come downhill, and make a play, all right? He may lean on you a little bit on the curl route. Typically, if it's a curl route, he's going to lean on you or push off on you at the top of the route, and you're going to kind of see his body structure kind of shrink. He's going to drop his shoulders on you, drop his hips. When he drops that, you got to come down with him and match that. So that's 2 to 1 to none. This whole slide is what I meant when I said you have to come to the line with a plan. Make defense proactive. So if you come to the line with a plan and you know that there's 3 releases. If he does the tight release, I'm going to get 2 hands on. If he does the open release, I'm going to get 1 hand on. If he does a wide release, I'm going to go no hands, bring my hips to his hips. If he takes an outside release, I'm going to play the fade to the comeback. If he takes an inside release, I'm going to play the post to the dig to the curl. So this is what I mean when you come to the line with a plan. Make defense proactive, and it's so much more easier to cover these routes if you know that if he does a certain move or a certain release, I'm going to cover it this certain way because this is what is coming. All right? And this goes on top of watching film and studying your opponent. This is the basis of, I don't know this guy, never seen him run a route. I'm going to come to the line and guard him. This is what's going to happen if he does these certain things. So this is making defense proactive instead of reactive. Watch some film here. All right. So bottom left corner down here. All right. We got our corner here, Amir Stewart, does a very good job here of kick sliding, getting in the guy's hip pocket, offhand jam here. So we'll watch this. Slide, offhand jam, sits with them, watches them all the way through. So we'll watch that again. Slide, hand on. It's a jam. It's a quick jab. You see there's a quick jab, not a arm bar. Quick jab. Quick jab, not an arm bar. So we don't want arm bars. Arm bars will stop your feet from moving. Quick jab, hand back to the hip, hand fight down. So we'll watch this one more time. Very good rep. Very good rep, sit in his hip pocket. All right, rep here. We're going to look down here. Same game here, same corner. He's got inside leverage on him. You can see the inside leverage here. All right, inside leverage. See what we do here. Kick slide out. Receiver crosses my face, comes inside the framework of my body. I'm going to get two hands on like he does here. A quick jab with those two hands. Read the ball. Doesn't make the play, but we need to make the play on the ball. All right. Perfect coverage until that point. The difference is between a guy that is an all-conference guy, a guy that is an all-American, a guy that's going to play at the next level is making plays on the ball. So this is the thing, confidence-wise, like I spoke on earlier, this is the thing that I would tell him, you did this right, but you didn't make a play on the ball. This is how you have to snap your head around, snap your hands around, make a play on the ball. We have to have those turnovers. We have to have those turnovers, especially in the red zone. But let's watch this again. Very good technique here. Kick slide, two hands, has to make the play. That's a very good rep. We'll watch it one more time here. Very good rep. We'll watch it here. Watch down here one more time. Same guy. All these clips are the same guy here. So let's see what he does. Good hot feet. So this is your comeback. This is your comeback. Down here. Same as the last one here. Hot feet. Sinks his hips. He sinks his thing here. I'll show you on this clip here. Ball's in the air here. Okay, ball's in the air here. Everything that I've been telling you during this presentation is essentially at the line types of moves. How do I guard this guy at the line? What am I going to do if he takes an inside release and outside release? A thing that you have to tell your guys or make sure your guys are comfortable with is playing the ball in the air. A lot of guys get, especially DBs, because they don't see the ball very often or get their hands on the ball very often, they get anxious when that ball's in the air. They want to make a play so bad they start looking for it. Okay? You have to be patient. Play your receiver's hands. This is a perfect clinic teach tape on playing a receiver's hands and playing the ball through. If a receiver catches the ball, and I'll show you here. So Amir here, playing his eyes. Turns around, looks, finds the ball. Okay? My first move, always, I'm going to uppercut with the near hand, near arm of the receiver. I'm going to uppercut through that receiver's hands. Okay, I'm going to uppercut one time, just like Amir does here. I am going to rip down with that same arm that I uppercutted with. Okay, and then I'm going to punch over the top with a hook in this case with the left arm. Okay, and I'll show you this back a little bit here and you can see it fluid. Punch, rip. Very good. So we'll show you that one more time. Uppercut, rip, punch. Uppercut, rip, punch. Knocks the ball out. Have to be patient with the ball in the air. If you're not patient with the ball in the air, bad things are going to happen on plays that you can make easy plays on. Okay, so your guys have to be super comfortable with the ball in the air. All right? Defending slide releases. Slide releases are the new cool thing for receivers to do. Slide releases are easy for defenders, especially corners, to defend because there's not a whole lot of give on slide releases. So if your receiver slides to the outside, his initial movement is a slide to the outside. The likelihood that he's going to slide to the outside and continue to go vertical on a fade is very low. Typically, if you're going to slide release as a receiver, they're going to slide release to set you up to do something else. Okay? Slide release. If he slides initially to the outside, you're going to look at a slant. You're going to think that he's sliding to the outside to plant that foot and cut back underneath you for a slant. So you think slide to the outside, it's going to be a slant. If he slides to the inside, You're thinking he's sliding to the inside to suck you in so that he can get on the outside of you, on top of you for a pat and go or a fade. Okay, so if he slides to the inside initially, we're thinking he's going to a fade. Okay, with these slide releases, it's the same thing as any type of vertical release. Okay, if you're going to kick slide to keep your leverage, whether that be inside or outside, regardless, if he slides to the outside on a slant, I'm going to kick slide out there. If he slides inside, I'm going to kick slide inside. Okay, you're going to just kick slide to keep your leverage just like any other type of release. You're not going to open until the receiver declares a route. What I mean by that is if he slide releases outside, we're not going to open our hips outside. We're going to kick slide outside to see where he's going to go with his next move. If they slide release, they can't make 3-4 moves. It's going to take too long. If they want to slide release and take 3 or 4 different moves, you've already won the rep because they're not going to get the ball. They're not going to get anywhere. Okay, so do not open your hips until the receiver declares a route. It's going to be a 2-step route. He's going to slide one way and he's going to make another move. That's all the route is. So do not open your hips until that receiver declares a route. You're going to hand strike. Okay, you're going to hand strike them. Put one hand on, 2 hand on, whatever type of release it is. Once they've declared a route. Okay, once they've declared a route, that's when you're going to do that. So if he slides to the outside and then comes inside, then I can put my hands on him. My eyes are going to follow his hip or his breastplate, and then when he opens on that route, if this is a slant, if he opens on that slant, then I can make ground up on him. Then my eyes can go to the quarterback to find the ball. Okay, slide releases are a very easy thing to understand, a very easy thing to teach and kind of perform defending those slide releases. You just got to know that you can't get over anxious because slide releases are a longer release typically than vertical releases because they just take more time to slide, make the move, and then go to their route versus a vertical release to their route. It takes a little more time. It's all about patience with the receiver's movement. DBs have to stay patient. Eyes have to stay patient. Right on the hip, right on the breastplate, not looking around everywhere. All right, hands have to be patient until they declared a route. So defending slide releases are all about patience. Some man beaters. You're looking at slants, you're looking at mesh, you're looking at rubs, you're looking at fades. So all of these things are quote-unquote man beaters. Quick slants, especially in red zone or on short yardage. You want meshes so you can essentially run defenders into each other. Rub routes are the same type of thing. Pick routes, rub routes. Offense don't like to call it a pick route, but it is. Also that they can get that man off of their indicated receiver. Fades are fades. Those are the 50-50 balls that I mentioned with the dog mentality that are not 50-50 balls when you're playing for me. So slants, mesh, rubs, fade, that's what you're thinking are man beaters if you're very much so a cover 1 or a cover 0 team and you play a lot of man. You got to think that these routes are kind of coming at some point. Double moves. Double moves will happen after the receiver's 4th step after their initial break. All right, on the 4th step after their initial break is when a double move is going to happen. Typically, all good receivers are going to give you a 4-way at the top of their route. If they're going to do some type of post corner or sluggo, it's going to be on the 4th step after their initial break. So if I do a sluggo and I take my 3-step initial break to get to the slant, then I slant, it's going to be on my 4th step. I got to sell this slant, right? So I got to sell the slant to make sure the corner and the safety and linebacker, whoever comes down, and then I'm going to bust it up the seam on that sluggo. So they have to sell their initial route before they make their conjoining route there. So if you're doing a post corner, you got to sell the post before you do the corner. Okay? Or you got to sell the corner before I do the post. So it's going to be on the 4th step after their initial break is when that double move is going to happen, is when they're going to change that route. If a receiver is going to give you a double move on the 2nd step or the 1st step after a break, you shouldn't be fooled on it because you haven't had enough time to register that he's running this certain route. If he does a sluggo, all right, he does a slant. Initially, after he breaks off that first movement on the slant and he takes 1 step and turns it upfield, you should never get beat on that. But if he sells that route like he's supposed to and takes those 3 steps, and then on the 4th, he's turning upfield. That's how it's going to get you. So every good receiver, double moves happen on the receiver's 4th step after their initial break. So on their 4th step. So your eyes have to stay on the receiver's hip, breastplate, until after that 4th step. Then we know for sure this is the route that he's running. Okay, this eyes can't be going everywhere. We can't be jumping things very quickly. Okay, double moves, especially on a team that does a lot of double moves, or a receiver that's very talented. That's how they're going to do their double moves. Last slide here, some in-phase opening. I like to tell my guys, if you're in phase past 15 yards, to man turn to avoid push off. Our guys got pushed off a lot on some back shoulder type of plays because they were zone turning and we're not leaning into them enough with the arms. This is a thing that I think is very dependent on skill set for your defensive back group. For my guys personally, I tell them, if you're in phase past 15 yards, man turn. If you're in phase past 15 yards, man turn, because we realistically haven't gotten down how to lean into them, how to feel without actually seeing them enough to make me comfortable to tell them that they can zone turn to try to find a ball easier. Okay, so I tell my guys, if they're in phase past 15 yards, man turn to avoid that push off. If you see the V of the neck on the receiver, you're going to think back shoulder fade and you're going to man turn. What I mean by the V, if you look in the mirror and you look at your throat, you kind of have a V right at the bottom here, where your throat kind of meets your collarbone here. If you see that on a receiver, that means he's pushing off, he's opening his body towards you so that he can catch this back shoulder fade. That's when you're going to man turn into him, put your body into him so that you can come across the body, make a pick, PBU, tackle, whatever the case may be. Okay, so that is kind of my basics on press man technique, true cover zero technique. If you have any questions on different types of route combos, how we guard those, situational things, if you want to watch more film, I have my contact info at the beginning of this presentation here. Reach out to me at any time, and we can kind of set something up there. This presentation, you can kind of watch this back if you have need some clarification on certain things, and then I'd be glad to send you some more film personally so you can kind of watch it over and over and kind of see what the points that I'm kind of making. You can kind of see those on film there. So I appreciate you guys taking the time to listen. Best of luck to you guys this fall, and go Saints.